I'm Tom from Do-It-Yourself Home Automation, and this is a look at choosing an inverter to use with your solar power system or any kind of 12-volt system where you need to use 120 volts of normal house current. So this is an inverter from Renogy. This is part of my off-grid solar system. And basically, when you're choosing an inverter, you want to look at its rated wattage. So this is a 500 watt inverter, and you want to total up the 120 volt wattage of whatever devices you're going to be using. So for example, a traditional 100 watt bulb, obviously that uses 100 watts, so I could easily run that off of this 500 watt inverter, but you want to total up exactly what your different appliances are going to need. And then you usually want to have about double that power out of the inverter. So I would use up to 250 watts on this 500 watt inverter, and that way it's running at its maximum efficiency. The other thing to consider is the surge wattage that this can supply. So some appliances may use 100 watts when they're operating normally, but they may surge to a much higher wattage when you first start them up. So a fan or something like that is a good example, because getting it spinning in the first place may take a lot more wattage than it requires when it's actually running. So you want to look at the surge wattage, and usually it's a lot higher, and that's what the inverter can supply for a couple of seconds as an appliance is starting up. The other consideration is the sine wave, pure sine wave, or modified sine wave. This affects how certain appliances operate, and certain ones it doesn't matter. This basically is the profile of the electricity that it's generating, whether it's matches exactly with what you get out of the wall, or if it's a little bit lower quality in terms of how well it matches up with that. So a pure sine inverter like this can run basically any kind of appliance. A modified sine wave inverter is a lot less expensive, but there's certain appliances, especially sensitive ones, that it's going to have a lot of trouble running. Now I've plugged this inverter into my kilowatt over here, and you can actually see, using that, you can see some of the statistics about what it's generating. So this one is generating 112 volts, so that's fine within the normal range of what house current would be. And if we look at the hertz, it's 59.6, where what we're aiming for in the US is 60 hertz. So the quality of the power coming out of this is actually really good. But again, if you just needed to run certain, power tools or a light bulb or whatever, you might be able to get away with a modified sine wave inverter instead of this more expensive pure sine wave. And they make inverters going all the way up to thousands of watts, but again, this 500 watt works fine for what I'm doing. And you can see we've got the battery connection here, and you want pretty beefy cables to go to your battery because you're drawing a lot of power through here when you're running 120 volt appliances off of your 12 volt system. And on the front, we've just got a power switch, and we've got various indicator lights showing us some things like if you're under voltage, over voltage on the 12 volt source, that kind of thing, over temperature, and there's just a little cooling fan on the back. So that's an overview of some of the things you want to look at when you're choosing an inverter for your solar power system. If you found this helpful in any way, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps.